Hey, welcome to my channel again. For those ones who are new to this channel, please subscribe, share, and like. You can also leave a comment on the drop box so that we can actually be able to engage. My name is Festo Imbo. Today, we are going to continue from where we left on discussing about business strategy. But before we can start, I want us to share some nuggets of wisdom today, and at least to get some sort of a drive basis to build up from where we started from. My nuggets of wisdom that I once learned was that anytime you see a person doing exceptionally well, it's not luck. For those ones who are not spiritually inclined, for those ones who are spiritually inclined, I will tell you that is not favor neither. And I will boldly say that is not grace. For God's grace is abundant to all. But being graced by God is an investment in you. But being disciplined is an investment in yourself. That's why we're going to start our today's discussion on how discipline plays a big role, especially on strategy. Stay tuned so that you can actually dig deep on what strategy basically entails and how to execute our strategy. Stay tuned. Welcome once again. My name is Festo Imbo. As we continue discussing on this important topic on how to grow your business, I want us to continue on the last segment of this topic of strategy on how to execute your strategy. This is very important because after formulating your strategy, you have to actually have a definite way on how to execute it. Number one, I would say you have to ensure that your strategy is tangible. By this, I mean it has to have a definite finish line, because a strategy that does not have a definite finish line is an ambiguous strategy. What are you aiming to achieve? What are the results that you're actually looking at? When you delve on this question, on what results you're looking at, then you'll actually realize where your finish line is at. Then, on making your strategy tangible, the second part of it that you have to execute is that, can one be able to evaluate this strategy? Evaluation of a strategy can be done in two ways. If it's a functional strategy, for instance, like a functional strategy like a marketing execution. When you're doing a marketing execution, how many numbers of customers have been reached with your marketing gimmick? When you're doing above board marketing and the below the line marketing, how many customers have you been able to reach? Or how much has your profiling in regards to your marketing outreach, are the customers happy with the advert that you put out there or with the message that you're putting out there? Are the customers happy? That you can only be able to evaluate that through a qualitative analysis. But when you're looking at the hardcore numbers in terms of like how many customers have been converted throughout the strategy period that your marketing strategy period that you put out in place, then when you're looking at the numbers of conversion, then you have to do it in a quantitative way and looking at the hardcore numbers. On this space, this brings me to my next point on how to execute our strategy, which is very important because it acts also like a big barrier to strategy execution, especially when you've not put people involved or when people sabotage the already outlined strategy and they sabotage your actual strategy in place. On this second point, I will actually want us to discuss how to get people involved and motivated when you're executing your strategy. That's the second point. In this, you have to ensure that you trigger some sort of like emotional involvement. When you trigger emotional involvement, people buy into your idea. When they buy into your idea, then you are able to execute your strategy and bridge that gap on strategy execution so that you bring people on board and help people run also with your strategy. For the best strategy tips is normally do a list of no's. What are the list of no's? What do you know? Do a list of no's. These are the things that you are actually going to do when you're executing a strategy, because you already know what exactly you want to execute when doing that particular strategy. The other thing is that you have to also know what are the other things that you're actually not going to do when you're executing a strategy. Which brings us to the big question, that how then do we develop this corporate level tool to our thinking and employ the same in whichever level of our day-to-day life? On this one, you will have to move to the 3 levels of strategy. That is the corporate level of strategy, business strategy, and the functional strategy. On the corporate level of strategy, this encompasses a firm's corporate action, which is aimed at achieving the company's objectives while achieving a competitive edge. When you're looking at a company's corporate objective aimed at achieving a company's competitive edge, this entails 4 main points that if you're looking at them critically, then you'll be able to execute a corporate level strategy. You're looking at number 1, a long-term vision that an organization sets, seeking to create a corporate value. The long-term vision must have some sort of like a drive that you're leading to, which you're seeking to basically create a corporate value. When you're seeking to create a corporate value, you have to put, again, people involved by motivating your workforce. When you motivate your workforce, they're able to work through and follow you through your strategy execution. And by doing this, you will be able to implement proper actions to achieve customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is everything. Without having the customers get involved into your strategy execution, then there's no finish line, because your customers must also buy into your strategy proposition. When they buy into it, then you actually get to achieve some certain corporate value in your strategy execution. On this one, you can employ 2 functional strategy. That is the cost strategy, whereby this entails basically pricing your product in the lowest possible way in which your customers are willing to buy. On this sense, you can also execute a product differentiation. On product differentiation is getting value, a value proposition per se on your various product demographics. When you're looking at a value proposition per se, you're looking at a product optimization, whereby you pick something and blow it on the face of the customers. I'm using simple terms so that we can actually be able to understand in the most simplest of ways. Product optimization, product differentiation is purely product optimization. By picking up a point that a customer is willing to buy into, and you push that agenda to the customers and bringing out the best in it. But when you're doing this, you'll be able to achieve what we call product differentiation, and you'll be able to bring and ensure that your value proposition is actually optimized. Lastly, but not least, is the functional strategy, which is developed with the first line managers. These are supervisors who actually execute the first line sort of management. It can include things like marketing, finance, product development, and so forth. These functional strategies basically helps in execution of various strategies that we put in place. Last but not least, when all is said and done, this strategy they just have to be in sync with each other. The vision bearer of the strategy has to put in hours and has to put in some pain and has to put in some effort in terms of realization of this strategy. Only then will you be happy that you've actually achieved some certain strategy and you've drawn a roadmap that clearly works for all of you and the organization as a whole. Stay tuned for our next discussion, because our next discussion is very hot on our next upcoming video. On this next upcoming video, we'll be talking on ways in which you can actually be able to look at when you are dealing with this COVID situation. 8 tips for motivating your post-pandemic sales team. It's interesting on what strategies can you employ, especially during this time, to maximize on your product offering and your product uptake, especially during these challenging times of COVID. Revenues have to still be built. Most businesses have closed down due to various challenges that they are facing during this COVID period. What strategies can actually be employed within this period of time to actually be able to get revenue and get the very best during this pandemic situation? It's interesting. It is very interesting. Stay tuned. Please subscribe, share, and like my channel so that we can be able to help each other grow. You'll be able to get a lot of tools to be able to use in your current business and even in your current situation at the moment, that will be able to guide you and ensure that you've actually been able to optimize and achieve the very best in your businesses. Ensure that you commit, because when you commit, you'll be able to achieve something more than what you're actually looking at. Stay tuned. See you on our next video. I love you all and remain blessed as usual. Thank you. And like I always say, decide, commit, and you'll succeed in everything that you do. Strategy is everything in our business. Stay tuned. See you on our next video roundup. Please subscribe, like, and share.